guys, welcome to the Coach Cast with Jim Glogowski. I'm Chad Birger, and today I'm joined by my co-host Sam Dooyema. We will talk about the University of Sioux Falls head coach Jim Glogowski to discuss the Cougars' Week 5 game against Minnesota State Mankato and preview the upcoming key to the city matchup against Augustana. Special thanks to our sponsors, Atomic Wings and Unlimited Painting. You can watch this show every week during the USF football season on YouTube or on the USF Cougar Tailgate page on Facebook. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and sign up for notifications or follow the tailgate page on Facebook. Well, guys, I'm going to welcome you back in here before we get into the game. Good to have you back again this week, Coach. How are things going?
Good. Yeah, back at it. Obviously, probably hit replay from last week's show and just plug it in here. But yeah, I mean, it's disappointing. I thought we played really hard. I thought our kids gave great effort. I thought we had a good plan for the first half. Our whole idea was to kind of keep control of the game and not let it get away from us early. And I thought our kids executed that really well. We controlled the football. I don't think we punted in the first half. We had a 4th down stop, 2 4th down stops, a 4th and 1, and a 4th and 3 that probably those probably end up kind of catching up with us at the end. We gave up a big 3rd down conversion. But, great effort. Kids played hard. Second half, we made some mistakes, and the snowball kind of got rolling on us, and we couldn't stop it. But post-game, the kids are hurting. Coaches are hurting. They're frustrated. It's a unique experience, personally going back up there, a place I spent some time. So that's never fun, right, to lose to friends and all that stuff. And all my family was there. But all in all, beautiful day for football. Give those guys credit. They played really well. They executed at a high level. They out-executed us in the second half, and that was disappointing. But we're 3-2. We've got a huge matchup coming up this week. We got to get back on the horse and get ready to ride, and we'll get ready to go this week in practice and get ready for Augustana.
Yeah. Well, Sam's going to take us through the game here.
Yeah. As Coach said, USF getting off to a fast start, and 6-0 after that first quarter. Minnesota State would answer. It'd be 10-6 heading into the half. And then, as you mentioned, that snowball kind of got rolling there in the third quarter. 3 touchdowns by the Mavericks there in the third quarter. And USF would tack one on at the end, as would Minnesota State, for that final 38-12 final score there. As we break down this first half, USF really getting off to a fast start, not really offensively, but the Mavs actually had the ball, drove all the way down the field. And you guys got to stop deep and made good on it. And that we see that here with a 14-play, 94-yard drive, 8 minutes, ending with that Christian Nash 5-yard touchdown run. The PAT was no good, but you're sitting pretty good there, Coach. 6-0 after the first quarter, kind of right where you want them. Mankato would end up tacking on 10 points there in the second quarter. And I know we'll probably get into this a little bit, but I know for me that second quarter kind of stands out for me offensively was those 2 4th down conversions that you guys had on offense. You guys were driving the ball. Like you said, you put together that drive. Obviously, this was going to be a physical game. I wasn't expecting you guys to put together a 94 drive, and you kind of get to that point. You're like, hey, 4th and 1. I think one was 4th and short, one was 4th and 3, and those are probably the ones that are going to keep you up or kept you up on the ride home and through the weekend. But kind of what happened? What's the vibe there at half a little bit? And hate to throw those plays on you right away. You probably already thought about them and dissected them, but I know as a fan, those were the ones like, ooh, I wish we had those ones back. And it flips everything then.
Absolutely. Those are key moments in the game, and I tell you what, first drives are always interesting, right? Because everyone usually scripts them and you spend all week long, and defensively you're not getting real crazy with adjustments because defensively you have a plan and you go into the game with a plan and you're saying, okay, if this goes this way, then we're going to do that. This is the adjustment. Well, offensively, they've been watching you all week long and they kind of know if they get you in certain formations, they're going to get you. And so really good football teams, and I think we have a good football team. They have a script and they're able to score and do some things because you kind of have a better idea what you're going to get. As the game moves on and teams adjust, that's what you don't know how people are going to adjust, right? Because every defensive coordinator goes into the game with their base mindset and then their adjustments after that. Well, we get a huge 4th down stop, which was big time. And I felt like, man, this feels just like last year. So much of that game up until the start of the third quarter felt like last year. Kind of the way we traveled, the temperature, the vibe, the crowd, very reminiscent of last year. Then the game starts off very much like last year. We score and we dink the ball off the upright, which that was very frustrating. And then your classic, it's like, oh, here we go, right? You can't have that. You need the 7. But 94 yards on 14 or 15 plays was impressive. Some third down conversions, kind of did what we wanted to do, to be honest with you. And we get up 6-0, and then of course they score, make it 7-6. And then, you're playing there, and again, we got in that no man's land where it's 4th and 1, and thought we had a good call on. And to their credit, they brought a guy off the edge, and he just kind of bottled it up just enough, and we get stopped there, and that was a huge momentum swing. And then we get the ball, and we're driving down, and my mindset going into halftime was what I didn't want to do is I certainly didn't want to give them the ball back with a bunch of time. We're trying to manage the game. We knew we would get the ball to start the second half. So we talked about that a couple shows ago, that kind of middle 4 minutes at the end of the first half, the 4 minutes to start the second half, that middle 8. We really wanted our big game plan was to keep the game competitive in terms of the first half and then dominate that middle 8, right, if we can, whether that's getting a stop and starting with the score and feeling like we'd be in control of the game. And then we get to the middle of the third quarter, and then all of a sudden the game starts to shrink and the clock shrinks. And now you're playing literally possession by possession versus it's a back and forth game. And when it's back and forth, everybody calls the game differently when it's a 1-score game or a 3-point game. When it gets to be 14 or 17, now you're freewheeling it offensively, and you're probably creating some more opportunities. That sounds kind of silly that it would be like that, but the game gets more wide open if you're up, obviously. So the 4th and 3 right before halftime, we had a good play call on. They brought a 6-man blitz. They bailed out on the one guy. We didn't pick up the blitzer. He comes scot-free. He gets into our quarterback's face, and he just kind of dirts the ball a little bit on 4th and 3. Not the end of the world, right? It's a 10-6 game. I just did not want it to be 17-6 or 13-6. We're going to halftime. I feel great. Like, I'm at halftime. I'm fired up. The guys are fired up. I'm like, we're right where we need to be. Like, you're playing hard. I made a big push during this week about this being a program game. And what I meant by that was we need to play like a program, like winners win. Like, we talk about winners win around here. What does that mean? Winners win is how you attack everything, how you do everything. Win, lose, or draw, you carry yourself like a winner. And that was at halftime. I was like, this is a program game. It's exactly what we talked about. We're going to come in here. We're going to be physical. We're going to try to dominate the line of scrimmage, which I thought we really held our own in the first half. And then, boy, the second half, we get the football. We fair catch it. Here we go, 1st and 10. And I think if we throw that pick on 3rd and 10, that sounds silly to say, but that might even be a different vibe. But, boy, the first snap, the first play, and it was a very similar play to what we had earlier in the game when we had a huge play to Isaiah Emanuel earlier in the game. And they rolled the coverage just a little bit different way. The ball was just a little bit more back inside than it was out in front, and that's the difference. And versus athletic guys, the kid's a 6'3 linebacker. He made a nice play on the ball. Give him credit. And next thing you know, we're on our heels, and that's what I don't think we handled the sudden change great. And that's kind of was my synopsis of that situation overall, because I really felt like at halftime it was two good football teams battling. There's a huge crowd, a lot of excitement in the environment. And we really were right where we needed to be at halftime, right within striking distance and playing good football.
I'll mention one thing. Our friend Tom Frederick said on the pregame show that JT Frieders had not missed a kick all season. Then what does he do? He misses. Classic announcer jinx by Tom. And I gave him a hard time about it on the air during the game. I don't believe in that stuff anyways, but I thought it was pretty funny because Tom's notorious for, saying something at the wrong time. But
well, and JT's done a great job for us. Give the kid credit. He has been really, really excellent. He catches the upright. And the similar thing happened last year. They blocked the extra point, and I'm like, just let's just not have that happen, And so, but, like I told the players yesterday, nobody walked out there on Saturday afternoon wanting to miss an extra point or miss a tackle or drop a ball. And so, we're human. He made a mistake, bounce back from it. And I think just big picture wise, we've got to be more efficient in the kicking game. We tried to execute a pop over kick, and it was a sidewinder and gave him the ball, kicked the ball out of bounds, start the game. We got to be more efficient there. We got to clean some of that stuff up. And then, I thought Scotty struck the ball well when he punted. We didn't punt a whole lot, but boy, Coach Offner, give him credit. He took the ball in the second half to have the wind to start the third quarter. I've been on that side of it many times before. When that wind's blowing from that one end zone and you're punting into it, that really kills the ball. And I think we ended up having a 30-yard punt because they got caught up in the wind. So the second half, they ended up the ball at, I think, the 49-yard line, which is short field. And again, 2 weeks in a row, we've got to do a better job on field position and making people go a longer way. And we don't want to go 94 yards every time to score a touchdown. That's not ideal.
All right, Sam. So bring us through the second half.
Yeah, as Coach said, we kind of get into that second half here, and it was all Mavericks from there. So Backer, they got a short field after that interception, and it ended up being a backward 5-yard pass to Max Sims. And then Sims would answer with another one, and then Backer would end up another one. And next thing you know, you blink, and it's 31-6 there at the end of the third quarter. Sims would tack on another run, and then Isaiah Manuel, great to see him get a touchdown against his old team there as well. He would haul one in, 10-yard pass from Bennett Brick there, capping off a 6-play, 75-yard drive. A little bit of too little, too late there. Final score 38-12. So like you said, it was just kind of, I think Coach did a good job dissecting it. Things just kind of got away from you guys, and just finding a way to kind of reel that in and turn it over for next week.
Yeah, third quarter. That was the ball game, right? And I told the kids, as crazy as this sounds, I felt better after the game this week than I did last week. I mean, last week I was pretty down about just how we came out of the gate, how we performed. I thought this week was just the opposite. We came out ready to play. We came out fired up. Our kids were prepared. We executed high level for 30 minutes. And boy, there was that third quarter window. It just seemed like, and again, you see that 5 plays, 37 yards, 5 plays, 51 yards. You can't give a good offense a short field, and to their credit, they put the ball in the end zone. They didn't settle for field goals. And that was the difference in the ball game, because really the fourth quarter was a wash. They scored, we scored. First quarter, we won. Second quarter, they won. They dominated the third, and that was the difference.
Coach, going into the game, you kind of expected 2 quarterbacks out of them, and they stuck with that Maximus Sims the whole game. He played really, really efficiently and really well for them. He's only a redshirt freshman, I believe.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's got a bright future. He executed at a high level. They're big up front. I actually thought, I think they ran for about 150 yards. Then probably half of that came in the last part of the game with they kind of broke some tackles late. He had a long 40-yard run. The quarterback really didn't get loose till the second half, when I thought we got worn down, to be honest with you, a little bit. I thought we had – the reason why I say that is some of the tackles, we weren't bringing our feet. Our heads started to kind of drop. We started diving instead of putting our pads on people, and that's usually an indication that, the guys have been out there and they're worn down a little bit, and that's kind of a byproduct of, sudden changes. Offensively, we weren't able to hold on to the football in the third quarter. I think we had 7 snaps in the third quarter or something like that. So you're constantly back out on the field. And so, again, it put pressure on you. You got to execute. You got to bail yourself out. And if you don't, no one's going to come help you out. No one's going to come feel sorry for us. Like I said, it's the absolute cliche, but we got to pick ourselves up by the bootstraps, and we got to go. And I think we will. And our kids were disappointed. We had a great lift yesterday. We watched the film. Today's an off day for them. They'll get back at it. We got guys coming in here volunteering to watch more film. They want to get better. We've turned the page. Whether you win or lose, we got an Augustana team coming to town, coming to the Bob. They're already in town. But we got that one coming up. That's the next big game. It's the biggest game of the season because it's the next game of the season.
Yeah, Coach. Well, let's go ahead and jump into our Coach's Clicker segment. Once again, all videos courtesy of the NSIC network. In this case, it was from Minnesota State University Athletic Department. And so we're going to pull up a few clips here, Coach, and see if we can dissect those. The first one I have is a 4th and 2 in the first quarter. You mentioned it earlier. You guys are on defense for this one. Mankato had kind of driven the ball all the way down the field after the opening kickoff, and you guys kind of stiffened up here. I think it was at the 4 or 5 yard line going in, and they decided to run a little sweep play to the offensive left, defensive right side, and the defenders do a good job of filling all the gaps over here on this side.
Yeah, really good job. First starts off with Kay McWilliams, number 6, the corner. He comes up. We talk about striking with the inside foot near shoulder, and he puts his left foot and his left shoulder into this guy, kicking him out. He's giving up probably about, 150 pounds maybe to that guy, But he does a great job of kind of forcing that thing to go back inside. And then Jay Koch, a senior, a grad school student, flourish number 33, flows over the top. And then more importantly, you watch the pursuit down the line. Here comes Cal Botsford right there. He does kind of cleans him up right there, number 57. But Shin Brennan, 98, a redshirt sophomore. He was a transfer for us, but he's done a nice job there. But Preston Yonke and Jay Koch and Cal Botsford just hustling with the football and just basically making this thing bounce, and making these guys earn it. And then you got to bring hats to the ball. And the guys did a good job of hustling and pursuit. And it's a big-time stop. It's a big stop for us. And then, again, to turn around, if you had told me that we were going to get a 4th down stop and then drive 90 yards and score to go up 6-0, there ain't a guy on this Cougars that would have taken that. So, you're feeling at the end of the first quarter, man, we're feeling pretty good. Both teams had the ball once. We maximized our position. They didn't maximize theirs and possession, and we're in a good situation moving forward. And at that point, I'm certainly not thinking they're going to go 3 straight drives in the third quarter. I'm worried about what's happened right then and there. And I thought offensively did a nice job of flipping the field and putting the ball in the end zone after that stop.
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of one of those methodical drives. There were a few big plays on this one. I just picked one of them. It was a Hank Brown catch here. He does a little bit of a cross route. You can see him on the slot on the top of the screen right now. Number one. You guys do a lot of, shifting and things like that. So Bubba started out, lined out wide, and ended up in the backfield.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is when you get the ball on the 4 or 5 yard line, you just want to get a first down, right? So you're not backed up trying to punt the football. So as we get the first down, now we kind of open it up a little bit. And this has been a staple of our game, getting Hank the ball in space. Really good job, honestly. You watch the back come out of the backfield. Bubba does a nice job of sealing this guy right here on about the 25-yard line. Noah Robertson, he gets his guy pinned. And then we talk about losing guys to the wind side. We've talked about that before, but if you back up just a little bit, the idea is that like when Noah goes to block this guy, he's got to make that defender go towards the goal line if he wants to get to the ball carrier. So he has to lose ground. And that's where we want the guys to run around us, like a roadblock. And a really good job here. I think we get Adonis here on the block. I'm not even sure who's else out there. Actually, Adonis got him at the initially, and then he lets go from there. But a good job there by Hank getting the ball and getting vertical and just trying to get, chunk yardage plays. And that's what we tried to do and make these guys tackle us in space.
Yeah, and Hank's a pretty good guy to get the ball in his hands. He can do a lot of good things with that. But yeah, I got to kind of, like you mentioned, keep those blocks going downfield a little bit. And I feel like that's maybe one of the things that Mankato did really well. And it felt like every time they ran a bubble screen or some type of screen that they were blocking downfield. And we're not quite sealing off these blocks a little bit.
Yeah, they did a nice job. They did a nice job of maintaining the blocks on the perimeter. We got to get off those blocks. But that's a big part of the game, getting the ball in space nowadays and getting your playmakers the ball and seeing what they can do with it. And you need hats on hats to be able to have some success.
Yeah. So you guys end up driving it all the way down the field, 5-yard line going in, first and goal here. I don't know who's doing the graphics, but first and goal. And we're shooting this from outer space apparently, but you can see the parking lot as much as you can see the players in this one.
Yeah, it's a heck of a crowd. They had a great atmosphere there. Again, homecoming, and I didn't think they could top last year, but they did by making a huge announcement. And they got the future state in the end zone and all that stuff. But, our kids weren't fazed at all by the environment. I think it was the 4th largest crowd in the history of their program, which is pretty impressive. I even see a Birger sighting, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around the 3-yard line.
Yeah, I'm right over there. Purple shirt. Yeah. If you're showing me on your camera shot, that's maybe a little bit too wide of a shot. Focus on the players here, guys. But this one, shotgun snap, just a little draw play, little zone draw, little power action. And I'm going to rewind it a little bit because on this one, you see Noah Robertson is lined up kind of in the slot on the top side or on the bottom side, excuse me. And he pulls around and gets a great block on that linebacker. And then, the offensive line, you got Ziegelbauer and a couple other guys just driving their guys into the end zone here. Good stuff.
Yeah, that's a good sign when all the white jerseys are in the end zone. You put 92 there with his hands up going, what the heck's going on here? And look at the clock, 30 seconds left in the first quarter. That's only the second possession of the game. And we ate up almost whatever it was, 8 minutes off the clock or something like that. And so you couldn't have had a better start. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Like you come out of the gates, they have some few plays on us, but we stiffen up. I think they got the ball at the 35. So I think they drove maybe 50 yards. We get a stop on 4th down, made them earn it. And then we take the ball and just go right down the field, take 7 minutes off the clock. So when you're watching this as a fan or a spectator or a coach, you're not sitting there going, man, the Mavs just dominated USF. Like you're looking at that going, man, this is the kind of football we played last year. This is the kind of football we want to play week in and week out. And for the most part, that entire first half, that's exactly what it was. It was back and forth. And you say you wish it could have, should have, and all that stuff, but we convert those 2 4th downs in the first half, and we're probably leading at halftime. And it's incredibly frustrating, as you can imagine, when this is your job to get them to do that. But it's also incredibly invigorating because the potential's there, right? You're talking about you can literally, it's not a sell job. You're 2 snaps away, guys, from being in control of this game with the ball in the lead coming out in the second half, which would have been exactly like literally we are 2 snaps away from the same situation we had last year, up by 10 points or something like that going into halftime. And that's a good sign. That's a good sign. At the end of the day, we didn't finish the game. We got to play better, but there's certainly some stuff to build off of.
Well, I'm going to show you the next 2 plays here are kind of a little sequence later on in the second quarter where the first one, it was a great play. You had them in second and long already on this one. And so they're kind of in a tough situation. They decide to pass, and good rush up the middle. Quarterback decides to step up, and then you had Dalton Reef coming over and grabbing the quarterback with his left arm there and able to hang on and bring him down.
Great job. His first college sack. He's just a young redshirt freshman. He stepped up in this game. He's been playing a lot more the last 2 weeks with some injuries, and I'm really proud of him. He's a great kid, Chester, South Dakota. Got a bright future. But here's the thing, man. We just scored with whatever it was, a fefew seconds left in the first quarter. We kick off, had a sidewinder. They get the ball at the 40. Now we got them 2nd and 15. Now we're going to have them 3rd and 18. So we're up 6-0. It's 3rd and 18. They're at midfield. You got to be kidding me right now. You couldn't have drawn it up any better than that. And then we have a breakdown on coverage on 3rd down and 18, and the guy gets loose down the sideline, and they make a throw and a catch.
Well, let's go ahead and pull that play up.
Wow, what a surprise. Here it is. So, I mean, I'm sitting here. If you just freeze this at the beginning of the play and you say, how do you feel about the game right now? I'm feeling phenomenal. We got them 3rd and 18, and we just, be honest with you, we're trying to roll to a 3-deep coverage. The safety here on the bottom just gets a little bit preoccupied by the post route, and he gets too far inside, and they make the throw and catch. Trayshawn Watson's a very talented wide receiver, but to be honest with you, it's not that tough of a catch. He's wide open down the sideline, and we just let him loose on 3rd and 18, and that's kind of where we're at right now. We have a really good series, and then we have one mistake that lets them off the hook. And I think that happened against Duluth on 4th and 8 on the fake punt. It happened here. So as most people look at this, and they might get down on us as a unit, as a team, as an offense, as a defense, I look at it as like we're really close. And these are arguably 2 of the better teams in the league. And we've had our opportunities, and we're on the road and in a big environment, and we just can't make that mistake. So what do? You go back to work this week, man. I pat this kid on the butt. I say, hey, man, I'm proud of you. You played your tail off, but this has got to be better. And they know that. He comes to the sideline. They're not sitting there going, you can see their reaction right there, 6 and 7. They know. It's just, that's football. The moment happens, and we got to be better. But, that's part of the game. And just like you saw the Mankato guy going like this at the end of our touchdown score, they're kids that made a mistake, and they got to be better, and we got to execute it. I got to coach it better. We got to make sure that we're practicing it enough so they can execute it, and then we move forward to the next game.
And the camera guys got to be better. I mean, they missed almost the whole secondary on that one. So, I mean, everyone's got to be better.
Does your wife have any pull in that department, Coach? I mean, we might have to get her moved over, and she can maybe make some things happen over there.
Yeah, but no, that was a frustrating situation because now you're down in the red zone when in reality we could get the ball back. Now you really are on par to last year. But don't have no fear. We do get the ball back. We drive right back down the field again, and now it's 4th and 1, and you're going to see what happens here. We're going to run a little bit of a dive play off the left side here. And the backside guy just gets there a little bit. And our tight end, 83, Blake Stahl, was a really good kid for us. He comes across, and he just gets inside of him a little bit, and that was just enough to stop the momentum. And you're talking about, as Blake's coming inside, if he gets his head on the inside of this guy, he's probably gone for a touchdown. But because
you're watching the guy pulling across from the right to the left right now.
Yeah, this guy coming from right to left. You can see he's trying to get in 38, just turns his shoulders a little bit. You can see the black helmet on the upfield side of that purple jersey. If his helmet's on the other side of that, that's what you're talking about. You're talking about this much of a difference, and I get that. But that's the difference between that guy coming down and squeezing the edge or us getting him turned out, and there's a gap there, and now he's down the line. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the irony of it. There's some copyright infringement. They're using our shark stuff there. I don't know what that's all about. I think that was a little bit of a poking at me, but that's okay.
Yeah, I noticed that during the game. I didn't ask you about it in the halftime.
I noticed it too on watching the stream, Coach, but I didn't know if that was a lot.
You know what they say, fellas? What's the most sincere form of flattery is imitation, right? So if I've been gone for 3 years, they still want to use our celebrations from back then. Hey, it must have made some progress there. But yeah, point being, it's 4th and 1. But then they get the ball, right? We stop them, force a field goal on 4th down again. So again, if I'm sitting there at halftime going, my goodness, we get our head on the inside. We stay in our deep third, like you're talking about just a couple plays. And so I would argue and fight with anybody that said we got dominated by Mankato. They had a much better third quarter. They did dominate the third quarter. But the other 3 quarters, oh, my gosh, guys. I couldn't say that last week, though. I couldn't say that. I would agree with somebody who said that Duluth dominated us last week. Yes, they did. But this week we did not get dominated. We had a really bad quarter. And we got dominated in 1 quarter. That's frustrating. But yeah, we go to the clips. Let's go to the next play.
Yeah, well, next play is the first play of the third quarter. You know, you talked about it. So this is the one where you described it earlier about how their kid made a great play on this one.
Yeah, he did. He makes a nice play.
So if you watch you got a slot two receiver, or you actually got trips down here on the bottom of the screen. 3 receivers down there, tight end on the top side, and Cam, gives the kind of the RPO, action here in the backfield, and then tosses it, to the slant receiver on this one, and that linebacker's sitting right in there.
Yeah, and I mean, you go back. This is the play that we got earlier with the big play, actually with Isaiah. You got a first down on it, similar play in the first half. But they're a little confused. Like, you go back, watch the safety to the bottom here. He's confused. The linebacker doesn't know where to line up. The trade shift in motion. See how the safety here on about the 37-yard line is? They're kind of confused. They're getting it. They're not really on top of it. They're a little bit. So their confusion earlier in the game, he had spun down, and so the hole was open. The 40-yard line was vacated, right? Number 2 had come down earlier in the game. Well, this time they're a little bit confused, which ironically is a byproduct of us trading and shifting. So 2 doesn't spin down. So then he kind of throws the ball back inside, because earlier in the game he threw it high and wide up over the middle, and that's the difference. And because he leaves the ball back inside a little bit, the kid makes a nice play. So, you're just talking about the difference between, just a couple of alignment issues, right? And that kid spins down like he did earlier in the game, and I think Cam assumed that he was going to spin down. He didn't, and so he made a mistake, and that's okay. Guys make mistakes, but now we got to respond defensively, and that's what we didn't do. We didn't stop them. 5 plays, 37 yards, they score, and now it's 17-6. So now you're chasing them. Now the panic button gets touched a little bit. We start panicking. The next series, we go 3 and out. We had a false start. We got in the long yardage situation. We took a sack. And all the things that had never even remotely come close to happening for the first 2 quarters, now these things start piling up, and now it's 24-6. And then at that point, as much as we'd like to say, don't look at the scoreboard, don't let that dictate how we play, we got a little panicky, and we got to do. But that's where as a coach, I've got to step in, and we've got to have a better plan so that doesn't happen again, because that momentum starts rolling. It's coaches' jobs, like basketball, college basketball guys take timeouts and all that stuff. We got to find a way to stop the momentum and get a couple first downs and stem the tide and not make it seem so easy for them.
Yeah. Well, later on in the game, Coach, this is kind of, much later in the game. You guys are down 38-6. And this is the one where Bennett Brick hits Christian Janis on a long pass. Brought this one in. I thought it was a great throw, great protection by the offensive
excellent
line.
pass pro. Thank you, Chad, for noticing that.
Yeah, and I thought we did a good job all day in pass pro, to be honest with you. There was just a couple times where we escaped out of the pocket and we're pushing a guy as offensive lineman. That's like the kiss of death. You're riding the guy outside, and the quarterback either get a holding call or you lose the guy and he sacks the quarterback. But he stays in the pocket, delivers this thing over the top, and this is their starters. It's not like these are anybody. This is the same guy that's the same guy that just hit Isaiah Emanuel in the previous play, number 2. So it's not like we can't attack these guys and go over the top on them. And Christian does a nice job of tracking this ball down and catching this thing. And so once again, good football teams have good players that can make plays. Great football teams execute consistently. The difference between good and great is sometimes it's that much, and we've got to be more consistent. So that's a combination of the opponent, yourself, all those things, the week of practice. We can control, get back out there, work hard, have a better week of practice, and let's go get them next week. Yeah, because the ability is there, right? The skill set's there. There's the potential to do that stuff.
Right. And a lot of fans see this and it's fourth quarter and you're like, how come you guys weren't doing this the whole game?
Oh, yeah, we tried. We tried. But I will say this, they're also probably playing some safer coverages. They're playing a little softer. And here's the other thing, took Cam out, said, hey, Cam, at this point in the game, let's just take a step back, collect yourself. And a new guy goes in there and he just rips it because he's not thinking. He's just going to go out and play. And when you're in the middle of that game for 3 quarters and you've been having 65 snaps under your belt, you see things differently. And fresh guy comes in. That's why you put a new guy in. Just a different look, different perspective, and that's what you need to get things going.
Yeah. And then the last play I've got here, Coach. This one was later on that drive. You had the Isaiah Emanuel touchdown. This one's 4th and 10. So they were kind of tightening up down as you guys got closer to the goal line, and pressure in his face, and Brick does a good job of stepping into that one and finding Emanuel right at the goal line.
Yeah, give credit to Bennett. I think he's come in the last 2 weeks, done a nice job, let us down to score. And that's the other thing people say is, oh, play this guy, play that guy. And we're going to continue to evaluate the situation. But, we talk to our kids all the time. Don't pray for the opportunity. pray you're prepared when the opportunity presents itself. And I'll give Bennett a lot of credit. He's a redshirt sophomore. He's been working hard. He's had a good year. He's making plays. He's taking advantage of the opportunities, and I'd like to see that. Great for Isaiah to catch one and back there, going back to Mankato. Obviously, played there for 4 years, and so a little too late. But at the end of the day, we're gonna fight to the very end. We're gonna keep competing to the very end. We're not gonna kneel the ball out and just run the ball and call it good. We're gonna try to keep scoring as long as there's time on the clock.
Yeah. I'm not trying to pick on the offensive line here, but I think that right guard's got to keep his eyes up a little bit. Can't let that linebacker get a free run at you like that.
That is not ideal. That is certainly not ideal. But give credit to Bennett for sitting in there and firing it down the barrel of the cannon, as they say, and delivers a strike. And yeah, it's good football. It's good execution.
Yeah. And it's always nice to get that touchdown. And we're seeing some of the guys. Hey, you can come celebrate with him, right? We talk about it every week on the Coach Cast here, Coach. But winners win. You got to play. Whether you're up, whether you're down, you got to celebrate the victories and things like that. You mentioned it last week as well.
Yeah, I mean and we did. We talked about that again. We talk about all the time. Winners win, and what does that mean? And it's not just you're a winner because you came out on top. You're a winner with how you act, how you behave, how you carry yourself. I had a good exchange with Coach Hoffner at the game. He was very complimentary of how hard we play. He recognized that we had some issues, with some healthy and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, all in all, I try to carry myself the right way. I want our players to carry themselves the right way, shake their hands. They were the better team on that day, and we'll see them again next year. We got the best of them last year. They got us this year. That's athletics. Dare I say the man in the arena, right? We all know that poem. It's a great one. The guy that dares to go out there and compete, and it's easy for the people to sit. Like we're pulling out of town, and some car stops at the red light, looks right out their window, and just gives us the double one signs. You know what I'm saying? Double birds. I just kind of chuckled, and I said, some person who probably was sitting at home eating chips on the couch, and I was gonna get a thrill off of flipping us off because we left the arena as losers or whatever. That's not how I look at it. Our kids competed. We got to be better. We're 3-2. We got to get to 4-2. What do we have to do next? Proud of our kids, their effort. They want to be great. They're going to work hard. We'll get back at it.
Well, Coach, we'll go through the stats here in just a few moments, but first we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our sponsor. This year, we have Unlimited Painting as one of our sponsors, so let's go ahead and bring Durant on to tell us about Unlimited Painting.
Hey, Sioux Falls and surrounding areas. I'm the owner of Unlimited Painting. Our licensed and insured crew delivers professional results on time and within budget. Not only are we quick, easy, and affordable, but we're going to transform your space with lasting impressions. Unlimited Painting, professional, dependable, and done right the first time. We're offering 15% off any exterior project. Give us a call now for a free quote.
Make sure to reach out to Durant and the guys at 605-403-9222. That's 605-403-9222. And you can get a free quote, enjoy that 15% off. Durant's going to take care of you for any of your exterior painting, interior painting, staining, cabinet painting, any of that stuff. You can also visit their website at www.unlimitedpaintingsf.com or hit them up on Facebook. So next up, we're going to bring up the stats from this week, and Sam's going to take us through the statistics.
Yeah, we'll take a look here. Start with the team stuff here. USF gaining 344 yards to Mankato's 477 total yards. 215 of those coming through the air. Mankato had 310 through the air. A lot of this game was kind of played that way, as you see the rushing yards on 129 for the Coup, 167 for Mankato. Penalty yards, pretty clean game, both sides, 2 for 20 for USF, 4 for 35 for Mankato. 18 first downs, 26 first downs to Mankato. Kind of look into where it diverges a little bit here, and we'll see this here. And we dissected this previously. USF going 5 for 10 on third down, but Mankato was 7 for 10 on third down. I'm just able to extend some of those drives on some of those short fields, and we discussed those two. 1 for 3 on fourth down. The one was the touchdown. Unfortunately, the other two were in the second quarter when the Coup really needed them then. And the time of possession, 27 minutes, 45 for USF, 32 to 15 for Mankato. Looking at some of these individual breakdowns, Cam Dean finished the game 14 for 21 with 157 yards. Fortunately, had the 2 picks. Bubba Tan, 15 carries for 67 yards. Hank Brown Jr. had 9 receptions for 87 yards. Isaiah Manuel, 3 receptions for 45 yards and that touchdown. And Christian Janis had that 1 reception we saw as well for the 51 yards there in the second half. Over on the defensive side, Isaac Runnigan leading the way, 10 total tackles for the Cougs, followed by Bo Giblin, had 8. And then we kind of see Jordan Medrano, Garrett Hoffman there with 6. Kane McWilliams had 5 total tackles. Maloa Wells, Cal Botsford, Owen McLeod, Dawson Raby, 4 there, as well as some tackles for loss. And we gave him a shout out earlier. Dalton Reef had a tackle for loss, quarterback sack. Great to see for the young guy there from Chester, South Dakota. Coach, any final parting words? You're probably ready to move on as we head into Augie. You mentioned a poem, so a poem came to mind for me. I'm not usually the literature guy. I'm the science guy. But I am a fan of heartbreaking teams, be it the Vikings, or I was enamored by the Bills 30 for 30 a couple years ago, mostly because I lost 3 state championships in a row. And so the Bills always caught my attention. And Marv Levy threw this poem on, and it stuck with me for a while. And you mentioned it. And this is your poem for the week here, Coach. You can look this one up. It's from Marv Levy had it. He didn't make the poem. It's from some book, he told me, but it's "Fight on, my men." Sir Andrew said, I'm hurt, but not yet slain. I'll just lie down and bleed a while, and then I'll rise and fight again. So I think that's your poem for the week.
I talk to our players all the time. When you sign up for this, nobody's making you do this. When you sign up for this and you want to be a part of this and you want to be a part of a team, we all want to be celebrating with the confetti falling down, right? But that's not what you're signing up for. That's like it's like one of that fine print, right? You buy a car and they tell you the great deal you're going to get, and in the fine print, you got to put $7,000 down and $900 a month. But the car looks so attractive, you can't wait to drive through these mountains on this 4-wheel drive vehicle. But the reality of it is the small print. When you sign up to play college football, we talk about playing in front of millions of people and all this kind of stuff. But the reality of it is it's the daily grind. It's the highs, the lows. You go through it with your brothers. You go through it with these people that you don't really know from different backgrounds. You have a shared experience. You walk off that field, people jeering you, the man in the arena, right? Same thing. And that's what creates these connections. And that's why 10 years down the road, you remember the people, right? Not necessarily the tackles and the touchdowns. And we're going to get better. We're going to continue to work. We've got a lot of football left. On Saturday at halftime, we will be exactly halfway through the season. So we're not even halfway through the year yet. It's frustrating to start out 3-0. It's frustrating to be 0-2. No one's more frustrated than the coaches and players, families, friends, fans. It's awesome that everybody cares. But we're not sitting here, feeling sorry for ourselves. We're going to get back to work. We're going to go back at it and get better for next week and have another opportunity. And guess what? Win, lose, or draw on Saturday, we're going to do the same thing again next week. Actually, we're going to do it for the next 7 weeks. And we'll see where we're at the end. And then at the end, we'll walk away. We'll know we had a great experience, that we had great friendships, and hopefully win a lot of football games. But to me, this is what you sign up for. And, they pay me to be the head football coach. My job is to help our guys get picked back up, show them a way to improve, show them a way to get better, and then to make sure that we're following those advice and instructions. And that's what you do. And I think that's life in general. I told the guys on Saturday, hey, if 3-2 is the worst thing that ever happens to you, you're going to be a pretty lucky man. So we'll get back at it. We'll get back to work. We're still playing a game. They've got lives. They've got, loved ones. They've got, school to take care of, and we'll get back at it. They're fighting through some bumps and bruises, some injuries. We'll get healed up, and we'll go fight again. Like you said, that's a great poem. And I'm sure Augustana or Mankato or whoever else has got bumps and bruises too. Whoever manages that the best is going to be the most successful team, and we'll keep working.
We're probably the most this is the most literature on a coach's show anywhere in the country. We've had poem references, lots of different stuff going on here.
I got it right there. Theodore Roosevelt, man in the arena. It's on my wall. And I do know this, and I know the Nick Saban process and all that. If it is all about result business, result oriented, I understand that, right? I get it. When Durant comes and pays my house, right, I'm a result oriented. I don't want him to miss a spot. I don't want him to say, well, Durant, that's awesome. You really worked hard and you were here 3 days in a row, but you missed a spot. It's result oriented, right? It's the same thing in our business. It's result we want to win. I get that. But I can't focus on the outcome. I have to focus on what it takes to get there and then make sure I'm staying true to that. And that's how I keep myself focused, because if I get all bummed out about winning and losing or get too high or get too low, that's not good for anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, After the game Saturday, I went over to Jake's, enjoyed, the fare there, the pizza, the beverages that were on tap. It was good time. I heard you guys had some Jake's pizza too, Coach.
We did post-game Jake's. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. So I
Not
always
as good as
enjoy
my
that.
dinner last night.
I was going to say, I always enjoy that on the road, but whenever I'm at home, I always want to enjoy some Atomic Wings. Attention, USF Cougar fans. Atomic Wings is back as the sponsor of the Coach Cast this season. Atomic Wings is still located at 1502 East 69th Street in Sioux Falls, just north of the USF Stadium. There's also a new Sioux Falls location at 3217 South Sertoma Avenue, just across the street from Roosevelt High School. Atomic Wings offers customers fresh, never frozen, natural, and hormone-free chicken wings, hand-tossed in one of their delicious proprietary sauces. The food from Atomic Wings is the perfect complement to football season. Also take advantage of the weekday lunch special. You can get a 3-piece tenders, sandwiches, boneless wings for special price every Monday through Friday from 11 to 4. The menu includes traditional wings, boneless wings, chicken tenders, sandwiches, or flatbreads. There's also a wonderful selection of sides. And don't forget the fried Oreos for dessert. Huge portions, excellent selection of food, and a sponsor of the Coach Cast. You can't go wrong. There's something for everyone in the family at Atomic Wings. Order online at atomicwings.com or come in. Located on 69th Street, just north of the USF football stadium. Perfect for pregame tailgates or postgame celebrations with family and friends. And I know I'm planning on going this Saturday after the game. Nothing better than celebrating a key to the city victory, hopefully with some wings, a little bit of the self-serve beer station there. So it's going to be a good one. I'm counting on it, Coach. I'm banking it. So
yeah, I got done here last night about 7:30, 8 o'clock, and my son was still hanging around the office here, and him and I snuck over there and saw Eric. Had a delicious buffalo chicken sandwich. He had the Nashville hot sandwich, the waffle fries, outstanding. I stopped short of the fried Oreos. I didn't need that, but I do enjoy going over there, and they got great stuff. It's great food. He does a great job.
Yep. Awesome. So we always give out the Atomic Players of the Week. And so this week, Coach, we've got offensively Bubba Tan, defense Cal Botsford, and special teams long snapper Blaze Marchand.
Yeah, it's obviously you don't win the game, you lose by a few touchdowns, and it's hard to say who's the outstanding player of the game. But like I told our guys, I'm just not one of those guys that's going to say, you know what, you guys are terrible, nobody gets this, and punt. I mean, we recognize guys that had above average performances. I thought Bubba ran really hard. Cal was really productive and solid. And to be quite frank with you, they kicked every ball into the end zone. We didn't return many kicks. We punted maybe once or twice, and that was just okay. It wasn't anything special. So all in all, Blaze was outstanding in snaps again. Unfortunately, we kicked the upright on one, and the other one we dropped the snap on the second extra point, so that wasn't great. But snapping-wise, he stood out and was very consistent. Scout team players, you got Victor Hernandez. Victor's a kid out of Sioux Falls Jefferson, does a great job as a scout offensive lineman. He's got a really bright future. And then Noah Ridgel is a kid out of St. Louis that's got a fantastic, exciting future as a safety nickel back. Really physical kid. These guys give great effort. Can't do without them.
Yeah. Congrats to those guys. I know that's always one of the highlights of my week is when I get a, post about the Atomic Players of the game. But awesome. Thanks for the partnership, Atomic Wings, and thanks, Coach, for helping us with those players each week. So you mentioned up this coming week, Augustana. Saturday, October 4th, Bob Young Field. Kickoff scheduled for 1 o'clock. If you are not able to make it to Sioux Falls, you can watch on MyTV, Kello Extra, or online on the NSIC Network or Midwest Sports Plus. But if you're in Sioux Falls and you're not at this game, you're not even a Cougar fan. You better get out to the Bob on Saturday and support the Cougars. If it's not a packed house, I'm going to be very disappointed. Augustana is undefeated right now. We'll go over that here in a moment, but the Cougars are 3-2, and I feel like this is going to be one of the, hopefully one of the better matchups in the series. You can also listen online on 98.1 FM, 12:30 AM, KWSN, 12:30 pregame show with Tom Frederick, Tim Hyatt, and some guy named Chad Birger. As far as Augustana goes, they defeated USF 27-21 in 2024 over at Kirkby Over Stadium. I think we remember that game. It was Jared Epperson kind of doing things, and he's not there anymore. And they've got a different crew of guys this season, and USF's got a different crew of guys. So, last year's records don't really matter, but they did make it to the playoffs last year. They won the conference with that 8-2 record. But this year, as I mentioned, they are 5-0. They beat Missouri Western by 4 right away. They beat Jamestown pretty handily there the second game of the season. They struggled, eking one out against Mary there, 21-20, but then took care of business against Bemidji State, and then were able to defeat Winona State this past week, 34-26. Coach OJ is in his 13th year at Augustana. He's been there a while. What do we expect to see on Saturday in this matchup against Augustana, Coach?
I expect to see 2 football teams just slugging it out. It's a big deal. It's a big game, arguably the biggest game of the season. It's always a huge rivalry. Been a part of 2 of them so far. The first one, we didn't really hold up our end of the bargain. I thought last year we competed much better. A lot of respect for Coach OJ. I've competed against him a couple different times as head coach. And then, of course, when I was at Mankato and he was obviously at Augie, they got a really prolific offense. They throw the ball around really well. They're a big offensive line. Defensively, Coach Sipple and Coach, does a really good job. They're really sound. They're physical. They play hard. They're big up front. They're experienced defensive line. I expect it to be a classic battle. I really do, a back and forth affair. We got to go out and execute and play at a high level. I'm hoping the home crowd advantage. We need people out there to support us. It's usually a big game atmosphere. When we played there last year, we had a great turnout. I would argue we had a better turnout on our side than they did at their side last year at the Bob. At Kirkby Overly Stadium. But at the Bob, our first year, I remember it was standing room only, packed house. It was beautiful. Actually, I think we had a weather delay. It was kind of a weird sunny day that we actually had a lightning strike and had a late kickoff or later kickoff. But I'm excited to get back on the field. Anytime you have a loss, you want to get back out there as soon as possible. Can't wait to get out to practice, work at it. Key to the city. I think there's been 12 key to the city games since the rivalry came back to life in the Division II era. I think the coup is 8-4 in the rivalry. I'm really excited about the opportunity to go compete and to get that key back. That's a big deal. In this rivalry, we want to secure it. We want to be the best team in the city, and that starts on Saturday.
Well, we've got our resident scientist here. Sam, you want to give us a weather update?
Retired scientist, but the weather looks good for the week. It's gonna be hot practicing this week for you, Coach. But the weather looks much cooler for us fans, especially us fans with young children who we have to try to keep entertained and cooled off. But high right now of 80. There's only 80 after hitting 90 here these next couple days. But it looks sunny. Chance of rain returns a little bit. We'll see. There was a weather delay, I remember, a couple of years ago, Coach. But it looks like the weather is going to cool off by the weekend. It is homecoming. It's Cougar Days this week well. So we're kind of doubling up here. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I think every Cougar fan looks forward to it. Coach doesn't need to hear any more about that. And because, it means a lot. And I think his players know that. We know that. It's a unique rivalry. We've got family members on both sides. And it's like you said, this is what makes college football special. And I'm happy to be a part of it now as a fan and got an experience as a player. And like I said, now I'm living it when I've got in-laws on both sides of it, friends from both sides, and kids in my son's preschool class who I know go to Augie, and I was like, oh, are they going to be holding that? And it's like, so I get to maybe choose his clothing appropriately this week. And so these are real things you have to consider during rivalry week.
Did you just say kids in preschool go to Augie? Whoa.
No, I might not have phrased that. Thank you, Chad. So if their parents went to Augie, I know some of these parents, and so I got to make sure I got to dress my kid accordingly. So you make sure you stake your flag and the loyalties are understood very right away, even at age 3.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It is, and I've come to learn more about it as we've gone through it. We've tried to educate our guys in the history of it. We talk about the trophy. It's actually a 4-foot long piece of aspen that was carved into the key, and obviously the scores are tallied on each side. We need to get that key back and change the logo, because I think the logo on that key is the old logo. Put that new logo on there. But it's a big deal, and I think this is what makes college football special, when you have these types of things, the excitement. But like I mentioned earlier in the show, when you go out there and lay it on the line, the risk and reward, if it goes great, the reward is awesome. If it doesn't go great, it cuts you deep, and that's what it should be, because you care deeply. Our kids care deeply. We want to possess the key. And we do. And then they do too. They want to keep it. There's no doubt. That's why when the game's over, the winning team goes and searches it out before they even shake hands. That's the way it should be in a rivalry game. You're competitive. You respect each other. You respect their competitors. But you want to win it, whatever it takes. You got to do to win the football game. You got to win the football game.
Coach, last year I did a big special on, preparing for this one. I interviewed a bunch of former players. I'm not going to do that again this year, but if anyone wants to go back and watch that, it's available on our YouTube channel. I think I posted a link to it on Twitter the other day, but go back and watch that. This game means a lot to the alumni of the program, the supporters of the program. And I think, you're kind of, like you said, you're picking this up. I heard you mentioning, hey, this is a big game and we need to win this. I heard you mention that over the summer. So it's something where I think that the current players are getting a picture of how big of a game this is and what it means to the program and the alumni and everyone else.
Yeah, they know. There's no doubt about it. And that's, people always say the cliche of if we go 1-11 or 1-10, the one game I won is Augie. And, I'm not sure I'm ready to sacrifice 10 out of 11 games. But I'll tell you what, I understand the sentiment. As a USD guy, I went to USD SDSU games, played those guys in the rivalry when I was there, the Hate State, all that stuff. And that's awesome. It's what makes it awesome. Now that I live here in Sioux Falls the last few years, and my next door neighbor, love him to death, great guy, great family, but he got some Augie ties over there. And he first moved in and he had an Augustana rock on his porch. And I thought my 11-year-old daughter was going to go over there and steal it and throw it down the hill. But I love that. She's like, Dad, did you see that they have an Augie rock and a South Dakota State rock? I'm like, well, that's got to change. Otherwise, we're not going to be neighbors, are we? And so shout out to Jake Steffen. He's a great guy. But, it's awesome. It's awesome to be a part of it. And we've been fortunate. Everyone's blessed, right? We talk about that in the recruiting game. You're blessed to get an offer. We were blessed to get 3 straight top 10 ranked opponents in the country, a chance to beat all 3. We were unsuccessful in the first 2. We got a chance to do it in the third one here. So we're blessed to be in this position. You can't just be blessed when it's going great. You're blessed when it maybe isn't going great. But we're blessed for the opportunity. I'm excited to get out there and compete. What better way to do it against your rival? What better way to do it than to secure the key to get back on track here and get to 4-2? And nothing would be sweeter than taking care of business at home. We get them at home. Again, I know it's only 3 blocks away or whatever, but we're home. It's our house. We got to defend our house. And we got to do a better job at our house than we did last time. So there's a lot to play for. On top of all that, the excitement of the passion and all that stuff and a rivalry, that's what you play for. So looking forward to it.
Yeah. Kickoff scheduled for 1:00 this Saturday. Lots are going to be open beforehand. Make sure you get there early if you want to tailgate. There's going to be lots of people, the CFLA is going to have a tailgate. There's going to be, down on the south end, there's going to be tailgating. Get out there, celebrate, tailgate, enjoy the beautiful weather, and then cheer on the Cougars to victory in that key to the city matchup. Any final comments, Coach?
No, appreciate you guys. Looking forward to the opportunity and excited to get back out to practice, get to work, and go after the key. Awesome.
Well, special thanks to Tom Frederick, Tim Hyatt, Matt Witwicki, the USF Athletic Department, the Northern Sun Intercollegiate Conference. For Coach Jim Glogowski and co-host Sam Dooyema, I'm Chad Birger. Until next time, go Cougars.